Immediately sold. Sign me up right now. I have begged. I have pleaded. I have offered up for my firstborn child. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. We are halfway through the year. Can you believe it? Where has the time gone? Like seriously, where has the time gone? I'm kind of scared. Last year, I, for the first time, took part in the mid-year book freakout tag that has been circulating booktube and book bloggers for years, and I had a good time. So I figured, yeah, I would do the same this year. So far in 2025, I have read 62 books, which is a lot. We are currently about halfway through June, so yeah, not even halfway through the year yet. And 62 books. I have at least one book that I want to talk about for each question. I do have like three for some of them that I want to talk about. But yeah, I'm going to keep it relatively brief because it is so hot in this room and I can't open the window because a spider has made its web literally in the window and I can't render that spider homeless. I'm not a monster. So yeah, I'm just going to suffer. And if you see me absolutely sweating my face off by the end of this video, no, you didn't. So let's jump right into the first question. And the first question, of course, is what is the best book you have read so far in 2025? And I have three answers for this one. I can't really say I have a specific one single favorite book. So I'm going to tell you about the three books so far this year that I've rated 5 stars. Starting off with one that doesn't really count because it's a reread, but Happy Place by Emily Henry, which is one of my all-time favorite books. And after rereading it earlier this year, I did end up moving it from 4.75 stars to the 5 star Hall of Fame because it is just that good, and I think it gets better every single time you read it. It's just the found family, the friendship, the female friendship, the idea that a happy place isn't necessarily a place. It can be a group of people that you love dearly and you consider to be your home. Ugh, this book is my happy place. I do have a full review of this book in my Emily Henry reading vlog that I did a couple months ago. So if you want to hear me scream even more about this book, then go check out that video. But yeah, I love this book so much. Then we have Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors, which is a book about three sisters who have kind of spread out across the world, but eventually reunite with each other on the 1 year anniversary of the death of their fourth sister. And, you know, it's about grief and that kind of very unique bond that you have between siblings where, like, you're not friends all the time. Like, you can have massive disagreements and fallings out, and you can be completely different from each other, but, you know, you still love each other. There is still that bond between you because you are related. Like the first line of this book is a sister is not a friend. And I think that is just like the mission statement of this book generally, because you can't call that bond friendship. It's something else. It's just a bond that is so deeply rooted inside you. And yeah, I think Coco Mellish just gets what it is to be a sister or to have sisters. Yeah, this book resonated with me so much. I was really rooting for all of the sisters, even though, you know, they are messy and flawed and they make pretty big mistakes. They were all just very compelling characters. And then the third and most recent addition to the 5 star Hall of Fame is Chain Gang All Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. I will have a full review of this book in my Pride Month reading vlog, which I'm pretty sure will come out after this one comes out. So yeah, I'm not gonna speak too much about it here. But the world building in this book is amazing. It's a dystopian kind of sci-fi-ish speculative book about death row prisoners who are forced to fight each other to the death, and if you survive for long enough on this gladiator circuit, then you are awarded your freedom. And it follows a whole load of characters who are involved in this, what has become a kind of massive entertainment sector. You have prisoners, you have people related to the prisoners, you have protesters against this system, you have staff employed by the system, you have people who are like in charge of the system in like head office. Yeah, it's a whole range of characters, a whole load of perspectives, and the fact that so much of it is completely backed up with legislation that exists or has existed in the US is wild. Like, this world, this dystopian world, is eerily similar to the world we live in already. It's definitely a very eye opening read, and yeah, I'm still thinking about the ending, honestly. The next question is, what is the best sequel you've read so far in 2025? And I am not someone who reads a lot of series. I tend to pretty much just read standalones, but there are a couple of sequels that I have read so far this year that I would like to talk about. Starting off with one of my favorite books that I've read this year, definitely The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. I have a full review of this book in my Fantasy February reading vlog that I did a few months ago. And yeah, genuinely, I think that this book might actually be better than The Poppy War, the first book. And I don't say that very often when it comes to sequels. But yeah, I really enjoyed the expansion of the world in this book, and all kind of the exploration of all the consequences of the things that happened in the first book, particularly Rin facing the consequences of her actions, which she does for most of this book. I think it's slightly more action packed than the Poppy War, at least from the very beginning. Like, you get action from the start, whereas in the Poppy War, it's a bit more of a slow burn. The pacing is quite slow up until, the war begins. But yeah, I enjoyed the action in this book a lot. It gets dark, even like compared to the Poppy War, which already is pretty dark. This is dark, and you get some pretty formidable antagonists in this book, some rather sinister villains, which is very exciting. I am definitely excited. Well, I'm looking forward to reading the third book, The Burning God. I'm a little bit scared, considering what I know about R.F. Kuang's writing and the fact that she is very much not afraid to kill her darlings. So yeah, I'm a little bit scared to continue this trilogy, but yeah, I love it so much. And then the other sequel that I want to talk about is this one, Sweet Obsession by Katie Robert, which is book 8 in the Dark Olympus series. Honestly, the fact that I have managed to commit to 8 books in a series is quite impressive in itself. Um, but yeah, this is my favorite book in the series so far. I really enjoyed it. I love where the overarching plot is going. The plot really develops in this book. I loved both of the main characters. This is a romance between Icarus and Poseidon, although, to be honest, if you changed the the names of the characters in this book, you probably wouldn't be able to tell that it's based off of Greek mythology. But yeah, both Icarus and Poseidon are very well written characters, and they also have great chemistry together. Yeah, it took me by surprise how much I enjoyed this book. Definitely. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. And again, I have a full review of this book in my Mythology May reading blog from last month. Question 3 is, what is a new release that you want to read but haven't yet? And I have a couple of books. Firstly, I have only just managed to get my hands on a copy of this, Sky Daddy by Kate Folk, which was on my list of most anticipated reads that I talked about in the video that I made about that in like December. But yeah, I managed to get a copy of this last weekend. Apparently, this book is about a woman who is sexually attracted to planes. Immediately sold. Sign me up right now. I'm really hoping that this is going to be kind of a weird girl fiction book. I'm kind of expecting that it will also be a bit sad as well. But yeah, I'm hoping for weirdness Yeah. And then I also have this gorgeous copy of Gifted and Talented by Ellery Blake. Look at these sprayed edges right here. Love. I have a little bit of a complicated relationship with Olivia Blake at the moment, because she has written books that I have loved, like Masks of Death, for example, and she has also written books that I have been disappointed by, like One for My Enemy. So I'm really hoping that this book has more of a feel of Masks of Death, potentially with the elements of One for My Enemy that I enjoyed, like the kind of complicated sibling relationships, which, I mean, this book is about siblings, magical siblings. So hopefully there'll be some of that. And yeah, I do have high expectations. So yeah, I'm hoping to get to this at some point in July. So I guess I'll find out fairly soon. I honestly, I filmed the rest of this video and got halfway through uploading when I realized I had completely skipped question 4. So that is why the camera might be a little bit wonky for this one. But yeah, question 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the rest of the year? And honestly, I can't believe I forgot this one because I want to talk about some books. This is very exciting. So, an honourable mention is Aphrodite by Phoenicia Rogerson, which I read as an ARC last month, in Mythology May, and I won't speak that much about this one because A, I have a full review on that reading vlog, so go and watch that if you want to hear more, and B, Phoenicia Rogerson will be appearing later on in this video as well. So yeah, all I can say is it was great. It's a retelling, reimagining of the life of Aphrodite. It's not your average feminist retelling. Um, it is definitely a feminist retelling, as opposed to other retellings that aren't that feminist. Like this actually is a feminist retelling. But yeah, it kind of takes the myth in a slightly different direction. And it's funny and witty and fun, but it's also heartbreaking and introspective. The stakes are high. It can get really tense at times. And yeah, it was so great. I really enjoyed it. Despite the fact that it has a pretty severe case of Madeline Miller found at the scene of the crime. But if you want to hear more about that, then check out my Mythology May video. I rant a lot about that in that one. So yeah. Moving on to new releases that I actually haven't read yet, and first up is A Beautiful Evil by B. Fitzgerald. I'm so sad that I haven't read this one yet because I have been seeing other people getting arcs and proof copies, and I have just been staring through the screen of my phone, just infinitely jealous. I have begged, I have pleaded, I have offered up my firstborn child for a copy of A Beautiful Evil. I love B. Fitzgerald's writing so much. She is the author of Girl Goddess Queen and The End Crowns All, which was my favourite book of last year. So good. And A Beautiful Evil is a retelling of the myth of Pandora, and honestly, there is no one I trust more than B. Fitzgerald with Pandora's story and her character. I have so much faith that this book is going to be one of my favorites, if not my favorite book of 2025. And I need to get my paws on a copy. I need to get my grubby little hands on a copy of the book. Yes, I have pre-ordered a copy. I pre-ordered the Waterstones exclusive edition, and I will definitely be getting a copy in August, but like that is so far away. I want to read it now. And similarly, another one of my most anticipated releases is We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad. This is, I don't know if it's a sequel or prequel or both to Bunny. It's like set in the same universe as Bunny, which is one of my all-time favorite books. I love it so much. Mona Awad is one of my favorite authors. I just love her writing style. It's so weird and trippy. Like it low-key feels like you're on drugs. Not like I would know what that feels like. The fact that there is going to be a continuation to Bunny is very exciting, but also slightly daunting because I love Bunny so much. So naturally, my expectations are going to be so high for this book. I'm sure those expectations are going to be exceeded even. And I'm gonna love it so much, but like it's a little bit scary. But yeah, again, I have begged and pleaded for an arc of this book, but I don't think it's ever gonna happen. I just need to accept defeat and wait until it comes out. Which, to be fair, is only a few months away, so I don't have to wait long anymore, but it's still sad. So, yeah, those are my most anticipated releases. There are tons of other books that I am also extremely excited for. I've just narrowed it down to two, but I think I will probably end up making an entire video, an entire vlog reading my most anticipated releases because it seems like every single one of my favorite authors is releasing a book in like August/September. So my bank account will suffer, but I will be very happy. So, yeah, definitely look out for that video in the coming months. Question 5 is what has been the biggest disappointment so far this year? And I have a few books that I would like to talk about in terms of disappointments, starting off with possibly a controversial choice, which is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is a book that I read very early on this year. It was on my list of 25 books I wanted to read in 2025. And yeah, I had high expectations because most of the people I know who read it have absolutely loved it and like swear by it. But yeah, I was just really bored. This book is just painfully mid. Not much really happens, which I get is kind of the point of the book, but like, yeah, I didn't really get much out of it other than like a massive feeling of just despair and despondency, which, I mean, I had a strong reaction to it, which I guess is a good thing, but like, ugh, I was a bit bored. I'm not gonna lie. And I think the same goes for this book, The Vegetarian by Han Kang, which was actually the first book that I read this year. And yeah, I was a bit disappointed. Again, I was a little bit bored. Not much really happens. I think I had expectations of what the book was going to be that were different to what the book actually was. I was kind of expecting a bit more kind of weird fiction because everyone kind of puts this book on weird fiction lists. But it is just sad and not much happens. So, yeah, maybe that was on me for having different expectations to what it actually was. But yeah, I was a bit bored. I am, however, still going to check out other work by both of those authors. I already have a copy of Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, which I do want to read because I think that will be more up my street. It's more kind of a bit more sci fi and speculative in a slightly more hopeful way to Never Let Me Go. And then I also would like to read other things by Han Kang because maybe The Vegetarian was just a book that wasn't for me. I think plot wise it wasn't for me, but writing style wise, I could vibe with another book. We'll see. The third book that I want to talk about for this question, and possibly the biggest letdown, this was absolutely gutting the fact that I was disappointed by this book, especially because I got it as an arc of NetGalley. Yeah, this is sad. This is heartbreaking. I got an arc of Will There Ever Be Another You by Patricia Lockwood, author of No One Is Talking About This, which is a book that I absolutely loved. Loved that book so much. And I just felt so let down by this one. I think what the book does very well is capture that experience of having brain fog as a result of long COVID. Um, the book takes place, I think, just after lockdown restrictions have kind of ended, but like people are still very much suffering from long COVID and its effects. Like the author or the narrator, at least, is very much suffering from long COVID and brain fog, and the fact that like that is very much affecting her ability to write, because she's a writer, and she can no longer kind of string together a coherent sentence for her writing. And I think that experience is put across really well. But my issue with it is that it was so frustrating to read because that was the entire book. Like the whole book was written in a very kind of confusing way that was literally just like thought and unrelated thought and unrelated thought and oh, suddenly we're at a pottery class right now. I think that where this book failed and no one's talking about this succeeded is that no one is talking about this is split into two parts. The first part is, it's very kind of stream of consciousness. It's a little bit random. It's similar to the whole of Will There Ever Be Another You? But the second part of No One is Talking About This is very much grounded in a a personal tragedy that is this the author's niece being born and living quite a short life. That is very much the focus of the second part, and that is what I loved so much about No One is Talking About This. Will There Ever Be Another You didn't have that kind of major event that was the focus of the book. And because of that, it ended up feeling very disjointed and completely random. And yeah, I very much struggled with it. I think had I not been reading it as an arc, I probably would have DNF'd it. So yeah, very disappointed, especially considering I absolutely loved No One is Talking About This. But yeah, what can you do? Question 6 is what is the biggest surprise so far this year? And I'm guessing this is like pleasant surprises. And I think my biggest surprise this year has been how much I enjoyed The Safekeep by Yael van der Wouden. This book has just won the Women's Prize for Fiction this year. So if you don't want to take my word for it, trust the judges of the Women's Prize. Like they know what they're talking about. But yeah, The Safekeep is a historical fiction novel that takes place in the decades following World War II. And I think that is why I was so apprehensive about the book, because I don't really do historical fiction. I definitely do not do historical fiction that is related to World War II. That is just an area that I do not touch. I'm just not interested in it at all. But I decided to give this book a go, give it a chance. And I am so glad I did because I loved it. The writing is fantastic. The prose is just so beautiful and fluid and sensuous. Like this book is proof that literary fiction can be sexy. There's this lovely sapphic romance that blossoms throughout. These two characters start off as complete mortal enemies that hate each other, and then that hate turns into something completely different. And the plot twists, like, let me tell you, the plot goes in like a completely different direction to what you might expect it to be. And when everything comes together, it's like, oh my god. Like, it's like a jaw dropping plot twist. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed The Safekeep, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily converted me to historical fiction, but it's it's persuaded me to think twice about completely overlooking historical fiction. Question number 7 is who is a new favourite author of yours, either a debut author or new to you? And if you have watched my most recent Mythology May reading vlog, then this will probably come as no surprise. But my answer is Phoenicia Rogerson. I read both her and an arc of her upcoming book Aphrodite in Mythology May, and I loved both of them. I so vibe with Phoenicia Rogerson's writing style. It is so witty and snappy and sarcastic, and she has such a knack for narrative voices. Both of her books are multiple POV. There are lots of different characters that have perspectives, either for a single chapter or for multiple chapters, and each of them has a very distinct narrative voice. It's kind of a masterclass in character work, really, and her books are just fun. They are fun to read. They're sad. They're very sad at parts, but they're fun. I had a fun time. Question 8 is, who is your newest fictional crush? This is always a bit of a difficult question for me because I'm not someone who develops fictional crushes, especially not on like book characters. I think I only really have one fictional crush, and that is Four from Divergence, because obviously. But if I had to choose one from my reading this year, I would probably go with Stax from Chain Gang All Stars, who is definitely the best character in the whole book. She's badass, but she is also a very caring and loving character. And I mean, she didn't deserve anything that happens to her in this book. She deserves so much better. Okay, question 9 is, who is your newest favorite character? And I have a couple of answers for this one. Firstly, Baby, a plant from Eat the Ones You Love by Sarah Maria Griffin, which is actually a pretty recent read. So yeah, a brand new favorite character. I just loved how sinister he is. Like, you really get a feeling for like how powerful and how kind of omnipotent he is just through the chapters narrated by him. About half of the book is narrated from the plant's perspective in this book, which is great. We love a unique narration style. And yeah, it was just so fun to read. Baby is kind of a mixture between Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors and Joe Goldberg from You. Like, he's very kind of obsessive. Like, he obsesses over the the character Neve, who like raises him and looks after him. Um, like, he's so possessive and just kind of knows everything about her. And yeah, he's a very sinister presence and antagonist in the book. And then my other answer is, of course, my girl Maisie Lee Donner from Sunrise on the Reaping. She's just so cool. We love a queen who can read you like a book. Yeah, I thought she was great, and I can't wait to see her being brought to life in the film. Question 10 is, what is a book that made you cry? And my only answer for this, because I don't cry very often at books, but I think the only book so far this year that has made me cry is Happy Place. So yeah, another mention for the goat. I don't think this really needs an explanation. Yeah, I was sobbing for a good portion of this book, and that doesn't happen very often. So kudos. Question 11 is, what is a book that made you happy? And I'm actually going to take this question in a slightly different direction. I'm going to talk about a couple of non-fiction books, which aren't probably the books that you would consider when you're thinking about books that make you happy, but like these books made me happy in for like different reasons. So, firstly, we have A Fatal Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Murder in Ancient Rome. Um, Again, I read this as part of my Mythology May reading vlog. So if you want a full review, go watch that. But yeah, this book made me happy because it's just very entertaining. It's very funny. I did have a chuckle a couple of times. It is just told in a very kind of sarcastic and witty way, which made the book super accessible. But it also made me happy because this book is just very scholarly. Like, it takes into account a very wide range of sources, but it also criticizes those sources, looks at them with a critical eye, points out all of kind of the biases that have affected the accuracy and the validity of the information on those sources, such as, the fact that most of the written sources that we have today were written by very rich, very powerful people who, had their own motivations for writing a certain way. So, yeah, it kind of takes into account the fact that we can never really completely trust written sources from ancient history. So, yeah, this book was equal parts entertaining and informative. And then the other book I want to talk about in this question was Greedy Guts by Gina Tonic, which I read as an ARC back in February. And this is a memoir about being fat in a society that is inherently fat phobic, and what that experience is like. And this book made me happy because I felt so validated by some of the things that were said in that book. Like, it just put into words so well, so concisely, feelings and experiences that I have had that, like, I didn't know how to put into words. It's just kind of a manifesto for fatness and how fat people should just be allowed to exist and not feel ashamed of themselves just because of the way that society is, you know? It was just, yeah, extremely validating and definitely worth reading, regardless of what size you are. Question 12. We are nearly there, guys. Not long left. Question 12 is, what is the most beautiful book you have bought so far this year? And I think one of my answers would probably be Gifted and Talented, because of the spread. But I also have a copy of Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is the Waterstones exclusive edition, and it has these gorgeous sprayed edges. Love that. And question 13, the final question is, what are some books that you need to read by the end of this year? And I have a list. I created a list of 25 books I need to read in 2025, and I'm doing pretty well with it so far. We are not quite halfway through the year yet, and I have read over half of them. I have 8 left, which I think is doing really well. So I can tell you exactly what books I need to read by the end of the year, and they are The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers, The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante, The Bee Sting by Paul Murray, The Five by Hallie Rubenhold, Enter Ghost by Isabella Hamad, Almond by Won Pyung Son, Want, edited by Gillian Anderson, and Private Rights by Julia Armfield. Those are all the books, and those are all the questions. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel if you want even more content. Let me know what your favourite books so far this year have been in the comments. I love getting book recommendations because it's just an excuse to go out and buy more books. You can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, Storygraph, and Blue Sky. My username on all those platforms is @WithTheJones if you want even more book-related content. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!